Sunshine.
And we are from Ms. Cole's first period AP literature class. You about the play Trifles. The author of this play is Susan Glasper. The characters include Sheriff Peters, Mrs. Peters, Mrs. Hale, Mr. Hale, and the County Attorney Henderson. Some very important symbols in this play are the rope, the canary, which is a bird, and the knot. The plot summary of this play is: in the beginning of the play, everyone is at Mrs. Minnie Whitman's house. The house is not in order. A man noticed that the lady Minnie was acting weird and just sitting and rocking in her rocking chair. The man was curious about where her husband was, and she continued to tell him that the man was upstairs dead. And Mr. Hales goes upstairs to see if he was dead, and her husband was actually dead. And then the play continues to go along. He ended up going to the county attorney Henderson, and then a woman arrived, and the women, Mrs. Peters and Mrs. Hale, they arrived, and the men were trying to figure out how did she possibly kill him. How did Miss Minnie Whitman possibly kill her husband? The men couldn't figure out anything. They had no leads on nothing. So, as the men began to make fun of the women, the men finally left out the room, and the women started to place the pieces of the puzzle together about what happened. They found the bird wrapped up in like a blanket type thing, put up in a jewelry box. They found that Miss Whitman had been knitting, and that she tied a knot. She was doing knots, not regular knitting. And in the end, the man came back to the women. The women didn't even tell the men that they had figured out what had happened, just because they felt like the men had undergraded them and that they didn't know what they was talking about. So they continued on with acting like they didn't know, and they took the Miss Whitman her things that they were going to the house to get, and the murder was never figured out.
Today I'll be going over the motifs and themes in Trifles. The first one I put was isolation. The women back in that time period, they were isolated because they just stayed into the house. The second one was revenge. The woman who committed the crime upon her husband had sought revenge and killed her husband because he had killed the bird. The third one is control. Her husband tried to control her every aspect of her life. The third is death. Well, her husband and then the bird died. And then the fifth one is understanding, because the husband didn't understand what she was going through. And things I put was: a man without understanding lacks knowledge to see clearly. That means like the men who were looking to solve the crime, they didn't understand what situation the woman was in order to commit that crime. And the second thing I put was: one who understands a person's situation can find reason in that person's faults. So I said that because the women, they knew what the woman who committed the crime was going through, and then they had tried to save her.
Okay, so today I'll be talking about motifs and themes. First, I have motifs. Motif is a recurring element that has a symbolic significance in a story. I have 10 different types of motifs. First, I have betrayal, then light and dark, love, hate, power, innocence, savagery, death, fear, and humanity. Then I will talk about theme. A theme is an main idea or underlying meaning of a literary work. I have 10 different types of themes. First, I have death and dying, power and corruption, courage and heroism, individual versus society, war, courage, benefit of hard work, coming to age, survival, and prejudice.
Hello everyone. I will be going over a few literary devices that are uncommon, unbasic as Miss Cole would say. Um, Here we go. So the first word is juxtaposition. The fact of two things being seen or placed close together with contrasting effect. For example, dark and light, beauty and ugliness. Number 2, ambiguity. That's a funny word, right? The quality of being open to more than one interpretation in exactness. An example of ambiguity is Sarah gave a bath to her dog wearing a pink t-shirt. Number 3, utopia. We learned about those this year. And an imagined place or state of things in which everything is perfect. An example of a utopia is Garden of Eden. Number 4, zeugma. I have not been able to really pronounce that word, and I think I didn't pronounce it right that time, but we're going to go with it. A figure of speech in which a word applies to two others in different senses, or to two others of which it thematically suits only one. An example of a zeugma is, she broke his car and his heart. Wow. Number 5, paradoxical. Seemingly absurd or self-contradictory. An example of paradox is, if I know one thing, it is that I know nothing. That doesn't even make sense, right? Iambic pentameter. A line or verse with 5 metrical feet, each consisting of one short syllable followed by the long syllable. An example of iambic pentameter is, as yet but knock. The apple sure doesn't fall far from the tree. Thank you.
Hey class, how are you all today? I'm coming to you bringing you text and tips for the AP multiple choice section. Okay, 1, read the questions first. 2, don't spend more than 8 minutes on a read with questions. 3, don't try to read the whole passage, just skim. 4, answer easier questions that apply to you first. 5, don't leave anything blank. Thank you.
Today I am bringing to you the essay tips. Answer the prompt. Don't veer away from the topic. Break down the prompt quickly because you will be tired. Vary your sentence structure. And organization is the key to success.
Thank you for these testing tips, and now I can pass my AP test.